Hey listeners, Mallory Wilsey here, Chief Producer of the Enrollify Network, and I want to take just a quick moment to tell you about another show on our podcast network that I know you'll love. In Your Element, hosted by Brendan Henkel and Daniela Norden, is a podcast bridging the gap between leadership and real talk in the dynamic world of higher ed. Every episode is a deep dive into the practical side of working in higher ed, featuring real-world tips, best practices, and use cases from Element 451 users. Join our hosts as they bring on savvy IT leaders, visionary college presidents, and leading voices in the field to share their experiences and insights. From the challenges to the triumphs of higher ed, In Your Element is your source for candid discussions, innovative strategies, and the impactful use of technology, especially AI, in personalizing the student journey. You can subscribe to the show by visiting podcast.enrollify.org or by searching for In Your Element wherever you get your podcasts.
Welcome to the Hidden Gem. This is your host, Maya Demishkevich, and today we have a very special episode featuring Dr. Stephanie Erdmann, CEO and Dean of Great Falls College. Dr. Erdmann shares her insightful journey of launching a new mascot and how it helped them strengthen college's brand and community spirit. From tackling identity challenges to engaging community in fun and creative ways, this episode is packed with actionable strategies. So, whether you're looking to launch a new mascot or already have one, you will find valuable lessons in strategic branding and community engagement. Stay with us to discover new ideas on using a mascot to elevate your college's brand. Let's get started. Welcome to The Hidden Gem, your go-to podcast that shines a spotlight on the strategic role of marketing and communications in shaping the future of community colleges. I'm your host, Maya Demishkevich, CMO at Carroll Community College. Every week, I sit down with community college leaders and industry experts to unpack strategies that work. We'll discuss practical insights and success stories to help you elevate your institution's profile and achieve your strategic goals. Tune in to amplify your community college's success, one conversation at a time. The Hidden Gem is part of the Enrollify Network, a robust collection of podcasts designed to help higher education professionals like you grow. Explore our other shows at enrollify.org or check out some of my personal favorites linked in the show notes below. Enrollify is made possible by Element 451, the leading AI-powered all-in-one student engagement platform helping institutions create meaningful, personalized, and engaging interactions with students. Learn more at element451.com. And let's get started. I'm very excited to welcome Dr. Erdmann to the show today. Hello.
Hi, Maya. How are you today?
I'm great. It's actually my birthday today, so I didn't tell you this.
Happy birthday. That's
Thank you.
wonderful.
I know I'm excited to spend my birthday recording a podcast in the morning and then do other festivities later on. But I'm super excited to talk to you today about your work at Great Falls College to strengthen the college's brand identity and how the introduction of a new college mascot kind of helped you in this effort. It's a great topic, so I'm looking forward to learn more. But before we get started, I really want you to introduce yourself to our listeners. Maybe share a little bit about your higher ed journey and how did you end up at Great Falls College?
Well, thanks, Maya. And happy birthday to you. I hope you have a wonderful afternoon after you get done with this podcast. Yeah, I'm Stephanie Erdmann. I have been in higher education over 20 years, and I never really planned on this career. I just happened into it. I taught a marketing class at a technical college in Wisconsin, and I loved it. And from that moment on, I tried to figure out how could I be in higher education. And I became an adjunct professor. I started at a tribal college on the Menominee Reservation called the College of Menominee Nation. I worked as the Learn and Earn coordinator, which was a Carls Perkins grant. And from there, I completed a master's degree worked in assessment of student learning, and then began teaching as a full-time faculty member and moving from faculty into the dean role after about 10 or 12 years. And from the tribal college, I moved into the technical college system, which was moving to the other side of the state as a dean and then as the vice president of academic affairs. And because I'm from Montana, I always wanted to get home, and the opportunity to apply and become the CEO dean of Great Falls College happened about 3 years ago. So we uprooted from Wisconsin, moved to Montana, and now I'm home again.
That's how it usually happens, right? Like usually people leave home and then they want to come back, and it's interesting how it happens full circle. It's great. I just found out that you have a marketing and business background. I think that makes sense that you were so involved in the branding and the mascot launch at your college, because you do have some of the background in this area, which is not always the case for many college presidents.
For sure. I started my career in advertising and marketing at a newspaper.
So you know what you're talking about.
I don't know about that. That was a long time ago, Maya.
Well, I think the foundational principles are still the same.
Good.
Just maybe technology and channels are changing.
Exactly.
Okay, well, let's jump right in. So what inspired Great Falls College to introduce a mascot, especially considering that your college doesn't have an athletics program? And how were you hoping the mascot introduction will help you solve those problems?
When I got to Great Falls College, I was really surprised at the number of times that I heard out in the community our name not being stated correctly. From lots of folks that have been around Great Falls for a long time and not saying the name right. So I started kind of counting how often this happened, and it happened almost on a daily basis that the name was incorrect. And I did a little digging into it. And in 1971, Great Falls College was called Great Falls Vocational Technical Center. In 1991, it was called the College of Technology, Great Falls. In 1994, it was Montana State University College of Technology, Great Falls. In 2010, it was Montana State University, Great Falls. And then in 2012, it was Great Falls College, Montana State University. There had been 5 name changes since the creation of this college, and people were confused. So I really wanted to start by just solidifying the name of the college so that we could then develop our brand and rally school spirit.
So what did you decide to do?
We decided to develop a mascot. That way we could become the home of the whatever that mascot might be and differentiate ourselves then and start solidifying that brand. So the other piece of this puzzle, Maya, is there's a private 4-year college right across the street from us. And this college also had 3 name changes in the last 2 decades, with the original name being called College of Great Falls. And then when they were able to introduce a master's program, they called it University of Great Falls. And then when Great Falls College changed its name to Great Falls College, Montana State University, they changed their name to University of Providence.
Okay, sounds like you're not the only one struggling.
So we needed that mascot so that we could then not only solidify our brand, but differentiate ourselves from our neighbors.
So you saw this mascot kind of helping create this new identity, maybe personalization of your college. What I think is interesting about mascots is how easy people can relate to them and how easy it is for us to assign human-like qualities to a mascot, because it's hard to relate to a logo, right? Like it doesn't have this personality in a way. But a mascot, a cute creature or whatever you create, it could be likable, it could bring community together, it can create shared memories, because it almost becomes this kind of personality of the college. So I think it's very smart for you to decide to do something like this for the college.
Yeah, we really did think about all of those characteristics and personality of what we wanted our brand to be at Great Falls College in general, which
Hmm.
we already felt like we were on this brand strategy that we were thinking about, where we are a friendly institution, where we are supportive of each other, and then tying that mascot into what we already do here and do really, really well. So, establishing our own identity as a public 2-year education option in the Great Falls region was really important to introducing this mascot. And then establishing a sense of pride
Hmm.
and school spirit and coming here. And then obviously developing our brand as Great Falls College.
Right. So walk me through the process. How did you put together a committee? Was it just a one person responsible for driving this initiative? How did you get the community involved? Kind of walk us step by step how you arrived and what this new mascot is.
When I started to realize that the name of the college still wasn't solid here in Great Falls, which it was being misstated across the community. Also, we didn't have any signage
Mm,
outside to showcase, and I think there was a little bit of a concern with getting signage because there had been multiple name changes in the last 15 years. So we really needed to figure that out. And so the process, we started with identifying how are we going to solidify the name of Great Falls College. And the institution where I had worked previously in Wisconsin was going through a name change. And then as part of that name change, introduced a mascot. So that was kind of at the forefront of my mind. And getting our marketing folks to jump on board with Mascot was pretty easy.
mhm.
It actually was. So we identified the characteristics of the mascot through a committee that was created. And that was in 22, so fall of 22.
So what are those characteristics that you wanted to portray in a mascot?
Wanted to make sure that the mascot was something that was easy to recognize
Hmm.
and that people could understand what it is and pronounce it, that it would have some sort of sense of community, the
Hmm.
mascot in general, that would help elevate the image of the college, that it would work with our existing shield that we have, because we weren't going through a logo change. We were adding a mascot and wanting to use it with our existing logo. And it portrayed the values of Great Falls College. So when I talked about the values, friendly,
Hmm.
supportive, and that it would reflect our Montana identity.
Hmm. Okay, that's great.
So that's the characteristics that were created. The others
Hmm.
were thrown out there, but we finally got to this list.
And then what's next? So you have,
Yeah.
yeah.
So then after that, in October, we gathered ideas, and the ideas
Hmm.
came from staff, employees, students. We had a list of over 500 submissions.
Wow.
It was kicked off through like a campus event that we had, and we had a QR code, and people could submit their suggestions through. We use Slido,
Hmm.
slido.com, to submit the suggestions. Of course, we had to filter through those.
Right. 500. Wow, that's a lot.
Yeah, we had to filter through, and some of them were multiple, some of them had an S on the end or not, uh, and we got down to a top 15.
Hmm.
I think it ended up about top 20. And
Hmm.
then the committee came back together again, and it included students, faculty, community members, and worked through this vetting process to then make sure that the criteria were being met. So it was Montana centric, that it showcased who we were. And so we got to the top 15. From there, we refined and did a second voting to get it to a top 3.
Hmm.
We ended up with a top 3 around Christmas time in 22. and we worked with a marketing agency to develop what the mascot could look like.
Mm-hmm.
So the final three ended up being the Wolverines, the Electric Elk, and the River Otters.
Mm-hmm.
And Wolverines are Montana. Montana has Wolverines, but they're mostly in the mountains, and we're kind of on the edge of the mountains in the prairie. And then Great Falls is the Electric City is the nickname for it because there are 5 dams on the Missouri River, so a lot of electricity is produced. So the Electric Elk worked, and then River Otters. The Missouri River runs right through town, and there are river otters
Mm-hmm.
on the river. So all three kind of met that Montana centric. Working with the marketing agency, the three were developed to look very kind of similar, so that one wouldn't have an what would it be? One wouldn't be better than the other, so they all looked really nice. And then we started our third and final voting, using the same process. We had a great social media push with that, and interviewed students on campus, which one would they vote for and why. And that video really had a lot of following, and it was shown often.
Mm-hmm.
And it
That's
was
a
really
great way.
Yeah. It was really fun to see how the students were like, what is an electric elk? That was one of the questions. And their responses were like, it's shooting, like lightning from his horns, and or it had like a Superman chest on it with the lightning bolt. So it was kind of fun to see what folks were coming up with.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so you got to 3 characters.
Got
You
to 3
open it up
characters.
for voting, and I assume the community was involved. Everyone was involved since it was available on social media. And then what happened? Who won?
It was really fun to see because there were folks out there advocating for their particular mascot. And it was very apparent that the Electric Elk and the River Otter were kind of neck and neck for the whole, I think it was a week or 10 days for voting. And the Wolverine just wasn't in there. It just wasn't in there. But in the end, the River Otter beat out the Electric Elk 48% to 42%. Then we announced that the River Otter was the mascot at Great Falls College, and we began using it in our marketing strategy with the logo that was designed with the marketing agency.
Right. What I think is very interesting, what you do in your marketing materials now is you have your mascot and your icon for the college side by side in your college logo, which is very interesting. I haven't seen this treatment before. How did you come up with this?
The marketing agency actually put together ways to use the mascot with our current logo. And we have about 6 or 8 different vertical and horizontal ways in which we can use that logo. So on our email signature, we're using both with the shield and the River Otter. When we're doing more formal, we just use the shield. And when we're doing more informal, we just use the River Otter.
Yeah, that's a very interesting approach, because usually you would think that by adding a mascot to your logo, it could dilute your identity and maybe even confuse the audience. But I don't see it in your case. In your case, they're designed in such a way where they complement each other and don't take away from each other, which is great. I haven't seen this before. So kudos to you and your marketing team for coming up with a very unusual way to introduce a mascot and use it, because this way you can use it in more places, in more materials, right? Where you would normally just use the logo.
Well, we are using the tagline, Great Falls College, home of the River Otter, so that it kind of does mesh together.
Yeah.
And then solidify that we are Great Falls College, that we're not the college across the street, and that we are a standalone 2-year institution in the state of Montana.
So I know you used some creative outreach tactics and marketing ways to get this name out there in your community and increase awareness about the new mascot. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, we did. We've been having so much fun with this River Otter. The the community has embraced it, and even ones that were electric elk gung ho have rolled over to the River Otter side of things. We have been marketing through different ways. A lot of swag has been purchased and
Mm-hmm.
interesting and different things. So River Otter socks have become quite the thing right now. And having all of our stats on the back of our River Otter cardboard piece that's handed out
Mm-hmm.
to students. We've been using that. We've gone to baseball games, the speedway, the parades, and we have River Otter shirts there. But what's been really fun is we have been securing Montana celebrities to do social media videos. And one of those was done by Josh Hustis, who is an NBA ball player who grew up here in Great Falls. And he went to junior high, high school here in Great Falls, attended college, played ball there, and was in the NBA. And he did a video shoot for us at the local high school about how he's been a this, he's been a this, he's been a this, but he's never been a river otter like his friends at Great Falls College. And then he
Mm-hmm.
at the end he says it's a slam dunk. And what's been so much fun is the young kids in town. We've if I can tell you a cute story,
Yeah.
one of our employees is a part of the United Way read to the second graders, and
Mm-hmm.
she wore her River Otter shirt when she was reading a book to the second graders. And they could hardly pay attention because they all wanted to talk about the Josh Hustis video and how they wanted to be a River Otter.
Mm-hmm. That's so cool.
It really was just a great story.
Yeah, so that tells you that your marketing, and I think that's a very unique approach to get the celebrities involved because they are great figures and well-known figures to kind of be associated with on behalf of the college to get this message out. So very, very creative way.
The second video that we were able to secure a celebrity for was Jamie Ford. And
Mm-hmm.
I'm not sure if you're familiar with the author Jamie Ford, but he's a best-selling novelist based here out of Great Falls. He wrote The Hotel on the Corner of Bitter and Sweet, and he has several new novels that are just wonderful. And our marketing director, Scott Thompson, and Ryan Sanders, who does our videography and photography, met with Jamie at the coffee shop and kind of had a script set out for him. And he was all on board. And then he said, but let me take it home and I'll work on it a little bit. So Jamie ends up writing his own script, and we video it here in our library. And he did one take, and it was fabulous. And we had him dress up like a professor, and he just did a wonderful job. Again, it was about his friends at Great Falls College becoming the River Otters.
Mm-hmm. That's great. So this way you're reaching different audiences,
Mm-hmm.
right? Someone maybe who's older, who is into the novels that he has written, and then maybe sports fans and kids and younger generation. Did you have any challenges securing those celebrities?
We've had a lot of challenges. It was great because Josh and Jamie were very easy to work with. And when we've connected with other celebrities, they seem to be on board until their agent finds out. And then it's a whole level of other conversations. And once that agent gets involved, we haven't been able to necessarily secure them.
Yeah. So far you have produced 2 videos.
Mm-hmm. 2
Okay.
videos.
Okay. Well, that's great. What are some other ways that you got the name of the, not the name, but the new mascot out in the community?
Other interesting ways are we typically are on Facebook and Instagram. We sponsored a race car at the Speedway, and it happens to be one of our students is a race car driver there. And on his car, when we sponsored it last year, we just had Great Falls College. But this year, we now have a student night at the Speedway, and we give away River Otter t-shirts. And he now has a giant River Otter on his car promoting Great Falls College. And that has been a wonderful way to connect with, again, a different audience in that way. And then Dan is our race car driver, Dan Harvey, and he has been putting the car in parades. And then we hand out River Otter swag at the parades. And it's really fun. And I've also been doing presentations around the community when you kind of do the state of the college presentation. And at the end, I've been asking questions about, do you know about river otters? What do you know about river otters? And I'll ask a question like, what do you call a group of river otters when they're on the water? You know how a group of crows is a murder. They all have these interesting names. And anybody who gets the right answer, they get a pair of river otter socks. Do you know the answer to what do you call?
No. What is it?
A group of river otters on the water is called a raft.
A raft.
Because they actually lay on their backs and hold hands like a raft.
Aw, that's so cute. And it goes back to your like personality and identity of community, and
And they're also called something different when they're on the land. So a group of river otters on the land, what do you think they're called, Maya?
I don't know.
They're called a romp.
A romp?
R-O-M-P. Because they're so playful. So on the water they're a raft, and on the land they're a romp. And it's the only animal that I know that actually has two different names for being a group, depending on where they're located.
I love how intentional you are in integrating those questions. Makes people think, and anytime people think, that makes them remember whatever you're asking them about. So it is a fun, intentional way of integrating your mascot in so many different ways. And it doesn't cost a lot, right? Like,
no, it really doesn't. And people are enjoying it. They're having fun with it.
I think that's what it's all about. Romping.
Yeah, exactly.
And having fun.
Exactly.
So you have your mascot. You started to put it out in the community. People are becoming familiar with the otter. And now, what is the next step?
Well, the next step was figuring out a name.
Right.
People were beginning to wonder, like, what's the otter's name? Because most mascots have a name.
Right.
And we decided that we would let the community choose the name. So we followed a similar process for the naming as we did for the figuring out of what the mascot was. So we used a QR code, press releases, a little bit of social media, and the Great Falls College website. And we received, again, hundreds of names. The criteria for the name, we weren't quite as specific as what we wanted to be. I think in the end, we kind of followed what the mascot was, but we probably could have, in hindsight, added a few more criteria within there because it was really hard to get it to a final 14. It ended up, we were trying for a final 10 and we ended up with a final 14. And a few of those 14 that were in there, I thought, how did that make it to the final 14? And one of those was Harry Otter. And
It's a great name.
I was pretty sure we were going to have trademark problems with that.
Yeah.
So that was a criteria that we probably should have included in the removal process of the final 10.
You had the 14.
Mm-hmm.
And then you did the voting again, right?
We,
To
we
identify.
we did. We did the voting again. The same concept, using a Slido voting and keeping it open for over a week and really pushing it out on social media to get folks involved. I think 3,000 people participated. I on my social media feed, I could see that there were lobbyists out there for a name that they wanted. And that was kind of,
People get very serious.
they were very serious about it. And the name was then, we held on to it for a couple days and announced it at our graduation ceremony, which was the May 4th. Then May the 4th be with you. At the very end, and announced the name of the new mascot as Mo. M-O.
I like it.
Mm-hmm.
Mo. And how was that received? Were
What?
people surprised?
No, people were, I think in the end, because there were quite a few lobbyists out there for Mo. So I think in the end, most folks were like, yeah, that makes sense. We've got the Missouri River, which is referred to as the Mighty Mo. And Mo can be male or female. Our River Otter, we don't have a gender on it right now. So I feel like people really thought Mo fit well.
What's next? How do you plan to kind of keep the momentum going and maybe integrate it into more events, more community outreach? What do you have planned?
Now that we have the mascot and the mascot's name of Mo, we are reconnecting with the marketing agency that created the logo in the first place. And we are contracting with that agency to create 4 or 5 different positions for Mo to be in so that we could have Mo doing things like welding, like studying, like nursing. And we'll start using Mo to be occupational specific in some of our marketing for specific academic programs.
Okay.
We also are incorporating the name of Mo into maybe some advertising strategy. Mo knows. And Mo better, more better, Mo better. In fact, tomorrow we're even, and we're playing on the otter, the term otter. So tomorrow is National Otter Day, May 29th, National Otter Day, the day after your birthday.
Yeah. Now I'll remember it forever.
Yes, right. And we're having a campus picnic because we oughter have a picnic.
We ought to have a picnic. That's great. Love it.
So we'll play on otter. We have an employee recognition program called Great Folks. We'll be changing that to the Awesome Otter. We have a Your Advantage newsletter, which is our monthly Great Falls College newsletter that goes out to all employees. We're changing that to Otter News. And we have an annual college update newsletter, like the State of the College newsletter, and that we will call Otter Spotlight rather than the Great Falls College Spotlight. So we're trying to incorporate the otter, the name of the otter, into the materials, the print materials, and the engagement activities that we have on campus.
I love it. I mean, I think the way that you can play with the name to tie it into different activities is great. Not every college is so lucky to have names like this, but that's so great. I love it. Maybe for someone who is thinking of launching a mascot in the future, can you talk a little bit about maybe some challenges that you have faced along the way? Because it is a process, right? It's not like you can do it in a day or two. It's probably taking you like a year, right, to do this. So what are some of the challenges and what advice you might want to give to someone who is looking to launch a mascot?
I think, thank you for the question. And some of the challenges that we had began with establishing that criteria and being very, very diligent about that. The committee, not all of the members thought that might be something that we needed.
Mm-hmm.
And we did. We absolutely did need it. But we needed something to be able to be more objective about the submissions, because just like a room color, people have their preferences, and people had their preferences from the get-go.
Mm-hmm.
For instance, there was a faction of folks that really wanted something dinosaur centric, because Montana has the home, they found skeletal remains of T-Rexes here,
Mm-hmm.
and it's kind of a
Mm-hmm.
known thing. However, that's not future forward. That's looking back.
Mm-hmm.
So it was kind of thinking about, well, what really would be future forward, and does that fit or not?
Right.
So being very deliberate about your criteria and where you want that mascot to take you.
Mm-hmm. I think that's a great advice, especially anytime you get so many people involved. You
Mm-hmm.
need to have a way to justify how the decision was made,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Mm-hmm.
Without just having, well, because we liked it.
Yeah, exactly. Or, being a pioneer or a logger, like all of that is
Mm-hmm.
history of Montana and very Montana centric, and wonderful that we have this awesome history. But do we want to be based on history, or do we want to be based on the forward?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, very smart. Any other advice you might give based on your experience?
Take your time.
Yeah.
Take your time. It was a long process for us. It was surprising about how long it actually took, especially if you're going to come to a top three finalist and then putting together what these three might look like and making them fairly consistent so that they all have equal bearing in the voting process. I was thinking, oh, that'll take 4 weeks. Well,
Mm-hmm.
it was more like 8 weeks, and that was hurried.
Mm-hmm.
The agency that we worked with to create it did a great job and turn around in probably 3 or 4 weeks of those three. And then our committee got to review them and provide feedback. And then it turns around again in a couple weeks so that we could get it out for voting. So definitely, if you plan, or if a college plans to do this, work with an agency that can be pretty responsive and that listens to your feedback. We got lucky
Mm-hmm.
with ours, but it takes
Mm-hmm.
time.
It does. So, how long did it take you as a whole?
We launched the idea of a mascot in fall of 22, and we
Okay.
announced the name of the mascot in May of 24. So that
Okay.
process was a year and a half long. Now,
Mm-hmm.
of course, you could simultaneously have a name and a mascot at the same time. But I really liked how we did it, where your mascot was out there for a while. Then people could think about, well, what is the name of this mascot?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. No, I agree. We have taken a similar approach.
Oh, you
And I
have.
feel like you don't want to do too much at the same time. Just give it time to evolve more naturally and for people to kind of um, better understand the personality of the otter so they can come up with the right name for the character. So I do like your approach of taking the time. And I also see it as a community engagement activity where
Mm-hmm.
you don't want to rush it. It's because people are so excited about participating and contributing to something that will stay with the college for years to come. You don't want to take this time away from them, uh, you know. So I think the way you did it is just perfect.
Oh, good. Thank you, Maya.
Yeah. Anything else you would like to add that you think our listeners might benefit from?
Well, I would like to share just one more story if I could.
Okay. Yeah.
I've talked about those River Otter socks and how I give those away when I'm doing presentations. When we had the Board of Regents meeting here last May of 23, all of the regents received a pair of socks, and the campus leaders for the other higher institutions in Montana, as well as the Office of the Commissioner of Higher Ed. And interesting to note that as a result of giving these socks out to a variety of people and a lot of occasions, I periodically receive pictures of people with the River Otter socks on doing things, which is kind of fun. But the story that I want to share is I had two people who received socks from me apparently had met in online dating, and they were talking about, you know, how you try to figure out common ground and things that are familiar to a place. And one of the two had mentioned that they knew me at Great Falls College, and the other one mentioned, well, Dr. Erdmann gave me a pair of River Otter socks. And the other person said, I have River Otter socks too.
See, you're matching people.
Yeah.
Making connections.
So I really am looking forward to Valentine's Day. And if this couple is still together in February of 25, I am looking forward to Mo being Cupid and then sharing their story.
So cute. If I were you, I would be going to like stores or in the community looking what socks people are wearing.
Yeah.
Too bad it's not easy to see, like unless you're sitting down and your pants are maybe a bit up.
Yeah.
But that's great. I love it.
Yeah.
Well, Dr. Erdmann, it was so much fun listening to your story and your thoughtful approach and taking the time to reestablish the strong brand of your college in your community and do it in a very fun way. So I thank you so much for sharing your story. And I'm sure a lot of people will find it insightful and beneficial, especially if they're planning to do something like this in the future.
Well, I really appreciate you reaching out and your interest in the story, Maya.
I hope you enjoyed this episode and found it valuable. Let's keep this conversation going on LinkedIn at Maya Demishkevich. I would love to hear your thoughts, questions, and suggestions for what you would like to see next on this podcast. Remember, by tuning in to The Hidden Gem, you are not just listening to a podcast, you are joining a movement of amplifying community colleges' success. Don't miss out. Subscribe to this podcast and notifications about our future episodes. Share it with your colleagues and college leaders to help make our colleges stand out. Together, let's make an impact. The Hidden Gem is part of the Enrollify podcast network. If you like this podcast, chances are you will like other Enrollify shows too. Our podcast network is growing by the month, and we've got a plethora of marketing, enrollment, and higher education technology shows that are jam-packed with stories, ideas, and frameworks, all designed to empower you to be a better higher ed professional. Our shows help higher ed marketers and admissions professionals find their next big idea and feature selection of the industry's best as your hosts. Learn from Jamie Hunt, Jenny Fowler, Eddie Francis, Brian Gross, and so many other of your favorite leaders in higher ed. Enrollify is made possible by Element 451, the leading AI-powered all-in-one student engagement platform helping institutions create meaningful, personalized, and engaging interactions with students. Learn more at element451.com.